Some species of tarantulas keep tiny frogs as pets. The frog is protected from predators, and in return, the tarantula's burrow is protected from pests that are too small for the spider to deal with. Cats were likely domesticated by humans through the same process. Farmers who own ostrich farms often struggle with breeding. This is because ostriches are sometimes more attracted to humans than other ostriches. Cheetahs are so closely related that you can freely transplant organs between each member of the species without immunosuppression. In 1970, Fraser the lion was adopted by a safari in Florida at the age of 18, which is the human equivalent to the age of 80. He was blind, toothless, and could barely walk, but was still responsible for the births of 35 cubs at the park. This incredible photo captures the moment an orangutan reached out to help a conservationist who was stuck in a river. It was taken in Malaysia when the man was searching for dangerous snakes in the area to protect the local apes. This extremely rare translucent lobster was caught in the state of Maine. The man who caught it said he threw it back into the ocean because it was too small. Experts say the chances of finding a lobster like this are about 1 in 100 million. Thousands have climbed Mount Everest and 12 men have visited the moon, but only 3 people have ever been to the deepest point in the ocean. While meerkats are adorable, they're also the most murderous species on the planet by far. They've been known to kill members of their own species more frequently than any other animal that's been studied. The first movie about the sinking of the Titanic was released only 29 days after the tragedy. The lead actress was an actual survivor and suffered a severe mental breakdown after filming. The Titanic is being corroded by a unique form of bacteria that eats rusted iron. Scientists say it may only have another 12 years before it's gone forever. After filming Psycho, actress Janet Leigh was so terrified of showers that she only took baths for 35 straight years. On the extremely rare occasion that she did take a shower, she made sure that every door in the house was locked and left the shower curtain open. An Indian actor named Shyam risked his life to transform for a role. He went 9 straight days without sleep so that the tissues under his eyes would swell up. Robert De Niro's character famously played Russian roulette in the movie Deer Hunter. When filming the scene, De Niro suggested using a real bullet to raise the tension of the actors. The actor who played the xenomorphin alien was a 6'10" man from Nigeria. He was discovered by the casting team in a local pub, and it was the only time he appeared in a movie. When Teddy Roosevelt was 25, his wife and his mother both died on Valentine's Day, just hours apart from each other. For his diary entry that day, he drew a large black X and wrote, "The light has gone out of my life." When some whales get old, they no longer have the strength to swim for long distances. So if they swim too deep, they might not have enough strength to reach the surface for air and eventually suffocate to death. Throughout your life, you're more likely to meet a future murderer than you are to have a lasting marriage. In the 1930s, a couple of married scientists conducted an experiment in which a chimpanzee named Gua was raised alongside their infant son, Donald. For 9 months, they were raised as brother and sister as the parents recorded their development. While Gua learned many of the human behaviors before Donald, the experiment was stopped abruptly because Donald started behaving more like a chimp. If you jangle your keys at a moth that has ears, it will do a backflip. This is an adaptation to the echolocation of bats, which is a high-pitched noise. The moth will drop out of the air and pretend that it's dead to avoid being eaten by a bat. The deep-water blobfish actually looks like a normal fish when it's in its natural habitat. It only looks ugly and bloated after undergoing extreme depressurization when fishermen try to reel it in.
The blobfish lives at extreme ocean depths, between 2,000 and 3,900 feet, where the water pressure is 120 times greater than at the surface. Its body has perfectly adapted to these conditions.
In 2009, a Russian man named Artyom Sidorkin went to the doctors suspecting something wrong with his lungs. Initially, doctors thought they were dealing with a tumor, but it ended up being something they had never seen before. It turned out that years ago, he inhaled the seed of a fir tree and it started growing inside of him. Scientists who first discovered the platypus thought it was fake. They assumed that an egg-laying, duck-billed venomous mammal with the tail of a beaver had to be an elaborate hoax. Standing at 380 feet tall, Hyperion is the largest known living tree in the world. Located somewhere in California, its exact location is kept a secret to protect it from vandals. A Japanese zoo once tried to mate a pair of hyenas for 4 years before realizing that they were both males. This resilient tree had all of its soil washed away but still refused to die. These are some examples of animals that are bilateral gynandromorphs. It's a genetic mutation that causes one of their first cells to be male and the other to be female. The result is an extraordinary animal that's male on one side and female on the other. Before World War II, Janusz Korczak ran an orphanage in Warsaw, Poland. During the Holocaust, Nazi soldiers came to his orphanage to take all 192 children to an extermination camp. Korczak was offered his freedom but refused to abandon the children. Instead, he boarded the train with them and was never seen nor heard from again. People originally erased pencil mistakes using bread. That was until 1770 when Edward Nain accidentally picked up a piece of rubber instead of bread and found it to be very effective. This prompted him to sell rubber erasers, which were eventually developed into the ones we know today. Erasers exist to fix mistakes and were invented because of one. This is what the headquarters of Mussolini's Italian fascist party looked like in 1934. In the 1950s, atomic bomb tests were a big tourist attraction in Las Vegas. They advertised detonation times and the best viewing spots to see the bombs explode from 65 miles away. It's estimated that out of all the species that have ever lived on Earth, only a fraction of 1% have been fossilized. This means that more than 99% of the history of life will be forever unknown. You should never shine a flashlight on a newborn sea turtle. If the flash is too long, the turtle will start crawling around in circles known as the ring of death. This means the turtle's eyesight has been permanently damaged due to mistaking your light for the moon that guides it to the sea. By doing this, you are basically sentencing the turtle to death right after its birth. The first chainsaw was invented by 2 Scottish doctors in the year 1780. It was originally used to help open up the pelvis during childbirth. Alexander Litvinenko was a former Russian spy who solved his own murder case. He was poisoned with a cup of tea in a London hotel and was quickly hospitalized. Working with Scottish detectives as he lay dying, he managed to trace the lethal substance to a former comrade in the Russian Secret Service. Serial killer and cannibal Richard Chase only attacked victims who had their doors unlocked. He took locked doors as a sign that he wasn't welcome, but unlocked doors were an invitation to come inside.
Chase displayed signs of the McDonald triad: animal cruelty, arson, and bedwetting, but also presented as outwardly clean-cut.
In 1982, the Almeida family lost their pet tortoise Manuela while their house was being renovated. 30 years later, they were cleaning out the attic after their father died and miraculously found Manuela still alive. They think she was able to survive by eating termites in the furniture that their father was hoarding. Just hours after the death of Nintendo CEO Satoru Iwata, a rainbow was seen over the Nintendo headquarters. Fans dubbed it the Rainbow Road to Heaven. In 2019, 30-year-old mother Emma Scholes ran through her burning home to save her 6 children. She ran from room to rescue her kids while suffering from third-degree burns over 93% of her body. For several weeks, she hovered between life and death but eventually survived. When talking about the incident, she said, "I thought I had to get the kids out, then I could die." Sunken World War II ships at the bottom of the ocean are actually extremely valuable. They're one of the only sources of steel in the world that remains uncontaminated by nuclear radiation. Though you may not recognize him, you probably wouldn't be alive today if it weren't for this man. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, Vasily Arkhipov of the Soviet Navy was ordered to fire a nuclear torpedo. But even though he was second in command, he refused. If it wasn't for his decision, a nuclear war would have broken out across the world. An Iranian man named Amu Haji is known as the world's dirtiest man. The 80-year-old man hasn't showered in 65 years and claims that cleanliness makes man sick. He has survived off of eating rotten animal carcasses and smokes feces out of a pipe. He also lives in complete isolation, and yes, ladies, he's single. About 1 in 50 people is walking around with a brain aneurysm that just hasn't ruptured yet. This means there's a chance you can instantly die from a headache without any prior symptoms. In 2015, the Department of Homeland Security conducted a test on the TSA at dozens of airports. A group of agents posing as passengers snuck various weapons through airport security. The TSA ended up failing to detect 95% of the weapons that went through the scanning system.